Hello everybody, my name is Dratnos, and today I wanted to make a video about preparing an alt that you want to play, knowing that 9.1.5 is coming soon, knowing that all of these systems are becoming more alt-friendly, but maybe not knowing which specific ones are worth focusing on now versus which ones you're just going to want to wait until 9.1.5 comes out. So I figured I'd make this video to tell you really like which ones are better to be doing now versus better to be doing later. And to help me with this, I've enlisted my trusty aide, Microsoft Paint, which we will be using. So we've got some broad categories of different types of things that you might be worried about on your alt. I'm going to go through these in kind of a random order. So yeah, let's get started. First off is legendaries. Legendaries are... Dude, how does one spell this? Legendaries. All right, I've done it. Legendaries. I don't know why that was so difficult for me, but they are something that are constructed in a couple different ways, right? You need to get the power itself. You need to get Soul Ash. You get Soul Cinders. And basically, when it comes to like which things should you be doing now versus which things should you be doing later, so let's see. Now, and then we'll make a later over here. Later. All right, I've done it. So when it comes to which of these things should go into which spot, the different parts are changing differently. In 9.1.5, Soul Ash and Soul Cinders are getting way easier to get. So they are a very reasonable candidate for doing later, but legendaries are one of the most impactful parts of your character, and so if you're planning to play it at all before 9.1.5 comes out, I would say making a legendary at, say, item level 235, doing that now, is a really good idea. And then, you know, the Soul Cinders are doubling in how much you get per Torghast run, and you can just spam Torghast and get it all in 1 week. Come 9.1.5, there's no like time gating in terms of needing to wait till next week to refresh your Torghast. It's just any run will get you the Soul Cinders. So this will be very easy to grind next patch, very quick to grind. But again, it's something where you might be interested in having it now. I would say particularly the Soul Ash step you may want to do now. If you're not aware, in Keeper's Respite in Korthia, you can buy 250 Soul Ash for your alts at the price of 300 on your main, and then you can just mail it over. So you can make your... I've done this. I've made a 235 legendary on a character that's never set foot inside Torghast, so that I could, you know, have access to that, and then I'll be waiting for the 265 until later. Now, the power itself is something that is better to do now. That one, you're going to instead want to get just soon. In 9.1.5, they're like making anything that's not guaranteed drop rate into a guaranteed drop rate power, but still there's no indication that you're gonna not have to go and do Stone Legion Generals on LFR to get that power. There are a couple of ways around this. You can buy a power for cataloged research, but there's a good chance you want to save your cataloged research. You can buy it once you've done 40 anima conductings, but there's a good chance you don't want to wait until then. So it is a good time to get your legendary powers that you're interested in themselves, right? The rune carving powers. The other stuff I would say you can save till later. All right, up next is the Covenant campaign itself. Oops, didn't mean to recolor that. Well, it's staying. Next is the Covenant campaign and the Korthia campaign. Now, both of these things are going to be entirely skippable on alts come 9.1.5, so my advice is don't do them. If you don't mind them, if you enjoy them, if you really want the like to play your character now, the Covenant campaign is one that might be worth doing for you because that unlocks your soul binds right now. And so if you want to play, you know, Karain, for instance, on a Night Fae, maybe that's something you want to do now to get access to that. But the Korthia campaign really doesn't gate anything useful. It just gates at this point, it's just gating some empowered conduits. Not really a big deal at all. Wouldn't worry about that much at all, assuming you've done it on a main character before. If you haven't done these things on a main character, you will still need to do them on at least one character before they become skippable on your alts. So definitely do that if you haven't already. Another thing that's changing about just Covenants is that a lot of the like Covenant cosmetic features, Covenant cosmetics, a lot of these are getting dramatically improved next patch as well. For instance, if you missed it, the Grateful Offerings currency that you get from like Anima Conductor stuff is starting to come from callings as well next patch. The Return Lost Souls weekly quest is going to be rewarded from doing Torghast and freeing souls inside Torghast. So all of this is also great stuff to do next patch. And if you have any designs on constructing the armor set out of Grateful Offerings, I would say just once the next patch hits, start doing your callings. And that would be, for me, much less painful than doing the Anima Conductor stuff, except for the Kyrian. If you're a Kyrian, there's one Anima Conductor that's really easy. It's just the one just south of your order hall. That one you can teleport over, click 3 buttons, teleport back, and collect your Grateful Offerings for the day. But otherwise, I wouldn't worry about doing any of those right now. Okay, up next is just general gear. It's just gear, eye level. This is something that is not dramatically improving next patch. There's not really new high item level sources of gear. There's Time Walking Mythic Plus that awards the same item level as current Mythic Plus, but it's unclear what exactly the weeks are that will be active. It'll only be active for 2 weeks when it first comes out, probably fairly early in the patch, and then it will go away for a long time. And also, with the tuning on PTR right now, it will be harder to get high item level gear from that than from Shadowlands M+. So basically every source of item level gear is a really good candidate for stuff to work on now. The problem, of course, is that doing content to get high item level gear requires, in many cases, doing some of this stuff, right? So that is why I would recommend, getting some of these legendary stuff. Get as much of this stuff done as you need to start getting yourself in a position to earn gear. In particular, I would say unlocking 1 Great Vault slot per week is really good in terms of time efficiency. Doing 1 Mythic Plus dungeon, there's a chance your Great Vault slot's going to contain some bad item. It's a good chance it's a Mythic Plus Great Vault. It's less bad if you kill 3 bosses on Heroic, but those are of course lower item level. But that trade-off still is so good in terms of how much time you're investing. Assuming you don't care about when something happens and just the total amount of time, getting a 252 piece of gear for 30 minutes of a key is a really good trade that you want to make as much as you can. So doing this on your alts as early as possible, as early as you can trick people into carrying your Brat alt through 15, is ideal. So that is definitely something that is sooner is better to get started on gear. And that is also true for Shards of Domination and Stygian Embers. So this is a little bit less true for Shards. They are increasing the drop rate for Shards next patch, but the Stygian Embers themselves are very much, there's no indication that they are making these faster, which means it is a many weeks grind of Sanctum of Domination. My hope is that this is just unannounced, and it's worth caveating right now that any of this could change. They could make changes to all of this before the patch actually comes out, but based on what we know right now, there's no indication that Stygian Embers grind is getting less severe, which means if you care about this system on your character, if you care about having rank 5 Shards Domination, then Stygian Embers are one of the best things to focus your time on now, rather than, say, any of this stuff over on the later side, because that is all getting better next patch, and this is not. It's, again, worth noting here, you may not care about Shards on your alt. You may not care about other stuff on your alt. For instance, the next system we'll talk about, which is, what's a good color for this? Go pink. It's not going to show up. That's not going to show up. Let's go with red, I guess. I should have budgeted my colors better. No, I've already used red. I can't do that. All right. No, that's not going to show up either. All right, we'll go with green. Korthia. Korthia for sockets and conduits. So Korthia is another system that there's no indication they are really looking at here. So again, if your character cares about Korthia, if your character cares about sockets and conduits, then do that now. I can't make the decision for you about whether you should care about Shards Domination and Stygian Embers, and whether you should care about getting your sockets and conduits. That's something that only you can decide if that trade-off is worth doing. The only thing I can say in this video is that the trade-off looks like it's going to be roughly similar this patch and next patch, so those are good things if you're going to do them. These are good things to do now, because they are not getting easier next patch, right? And these other things are. It is worth mentioning 1 weekly Torghast for if you are good enough to do the Empowered Adamant Vaults level of Torghast, there's a very good chance you will get a conduit out of that. So starting that grind now, for instance, doing 1 Torghast per week, getting your conduit, also getting your Soul Cinders out of that, not a bad use of your time either. Particularly if you don't mind, if you enjoy Torghast a little, You know, both of you out there that do might enjoy that as a plan for what to do on your alt. And yeah, other than that, there's not too much more to add to this. This is everything I could think of that you might be interested in on an alt. Graphed a little bit about what you can do now versus what is better to be done later. Let me know if I've missed anything. Anytime I make one of these videos, I sit for like 5 minutes trying to think of something I missed, and then invariably I hit upload, and instantly like 2 things that I should have mentioned jump to mind. So if I think of them, I'll put them in a pinned comment down below. If you think of them first, I'll pin your comment instead with whatever I should have talked about here. And of course, you know, let me know what you think about all this, if I've missed anything big about how any of these things are being acquired. Thanks everybody for watching. Hit subscribe and stuff. See you in the next one. Bye.